Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast.
Good job.
Awesome.
Today on the podcast is you and me.
Hi everyone. Happy New Year.
Hey, it is just Chris and I hanging out with all y'all.
Babe, I'm so excited that
too.
we're doing this again. I've been to the bathroom like 10 times already this morning.
It's because we're potty training Milo, so now do we go to the bathroom
Well, I was
more?
wondering if I need to go to the doctor, but I think it's just because I've been drinking coffee all morning.
Coffee and tea makes you pee. That's what we will not release that song. We're not going to release that.
We have been in potty training mode though, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Oh, man.
It kind of happened, I mean, not by accident. You don't really want to say by accident, but...
No, you don't want to put potty training and accident in the same sentence.
I mean, we just put out the little plastic potty and kept Milo's pants off for a couple days, and
he started it.
Didn't really give him a choice.
Out of the blue, like he turns 3 in February, so it was on our minds. But let's be honest, you do not want to potty train on someone else's bus. 10th Avenue
Right.
North in December. Hey guys, no big deal. We're just potty training. We'll pay for a new carpet for you.
I think they rent their buses, so it's probably...
Oh.
Yeah.
And it would have been fine. So anyway, all of a sudden Milo was like, come on, I pee on the potty. Or we're like, okay. And that was Saturday. And he had no accidents. We went to the mall, etc. But then today is his first day of daycare, and his teacher literally just texted me, no accidents, but he has been holding it for 3 hours. Poor Milo. Okay.
Oh, buddy.
Anyway, so before we get to this podcast episode, which is going to be awesome because it's all about your questions. You guys had a bazillion questions. They're all written here on my laptop so that I don't forget, because I love your enthusiasm, babe. It's like 50 million questions.
There's a lot of questions there.
And we're going to do our best to get to all of it. Kids are in school.
I mean,
we're all yours.
This is the best part about podcasts, is that there's no real time limit.
No, it's true.
For us, anyways. I mean, maybe someday there will be.
We always joke this is as close to a date as we get these days. So Chris made
Well,
coffee.
We went on a great date last night. Went to a movie.
We went to a movie and
Dine-in theater.
Have you guys heard of such things?
It's pretty glorious. They just bring you your food.
You ring a bell and they come and say, Chris and Jodi, what can I get you? And it's like, I'm never leaving. Popcorn, all the, beverages. And if you also want chicken fingers, would you like a milkshake? The thing is, we're on a fast. So we had to say no.
Just water and popcorn, please.
That would be great. Thank you. I hate fasting, but I also love... It's not fun.
Tell me how you really feel.
Guys, is there anyone out there that enjoys fasting? Okay. I enjoy it because it takes away a lot of my bread and makes me go, okay, God, I know you are the bread of life, but I'm really feeling that right now. I need you bad. But we have been fasting with our church, and I'm joking, but it's because I love sourdough and it's hard to give it up. But it's been really good to just sort of restart the year, cleanse our body, our soul, our mind, and just be like, okay, God, we're all yours. We've made space for you to come speak to us and direct our path for this year. So we've been leaning into that. That is not what the podcast is about, though. Man, we have a whole bunch more we need to do. Fasting, New Year's resolutions, perhaps. Anyway, but today is about your questions. And we are going to be as honest, as vulnerable, and as tactical as we can be in how we answer these, because I have a pet peeve if I go see my favorite band and I pay the extra money for the VIP, which, okay, this is free, so no extra money. You guys, this is a pretty good deal. But if I have a question that I really wanted to ask a band and they're just like, I don't know, I'll think about it. It's like, what? So we've been actually already thinking about this, and we prayed this morning that we'd just give you some real honest answers. And so that's what today's all about. Before we get to that, though, we have some tour dates coming up. We are pumped about because we love playing shows and we love meeting you guys. So Chris, take us through this. You're the organized one. What shows do we have coming up?
Yeah, well, we're kind of spending February getting ready for these shows, so we don't have any in February, but
we're in the studio.
Starting,
Da-da-da.
yeah. starting March 1st, we will be in Jamestown, North Dakota. On March 3rd, we'll be in Hillsboro, Kansas. And then, I'm not sure how we're driving this, but on March 7th, we'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then on March 21st, we'll be in Longwood, Florida.
Warmer.
And then on March 29th, we'll be across the country again in Rockland, California.
So warm also. All right.
Rockland is a suburb of Sacramento, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite places.
We've been there a bit. So guys, there's no rhyme or reason to the order of these events. They're all over the place. But we are coming to you. And all of the dates and details and ticket links are at loveandtheoutcome.com. So just click that and get all the info you need. Come say hi. We would love that. We've turned our VIPs into like a mini podcast where we answer your questions and we just hang out and drink tea. So make sure you come on out and say hey. We also have lined up some amazing... Can you do a drum roll or something? Sadie Robertson. Sadie Robertson is going on. Sadie, I just butchered your name. I'm sorry, friend.
I thought at first that we were going to cut that out, but now it's like, no.
Sadie Robertson. I can't say it all in one word.
Sadie Robinson.
Maybe she's not going to come on anymore. She's going to like text us, guys.
Sadie Robertson, ladies and gentlemen.
You can tell that
on the podcast.
We never say her whole name. We're just like, what's up, Sadie? We toured with Sadie on her Live Original tour on its first year ever. And she was one of the first people to hold Milo. We are like friends for a while. And this has taken a minute to line up because she is a busy girl. And she is one of our favorite people to sort of be inspired by. I'm sure y'all follow her.
When she does a Q&A, she gets like literally a million questions.
She really does. We get like 5 to her million.
Yeah.
So she's coming on. So you can be thinking about what you'd like us to talk about with her. That is going to be on fire. That is in February. We also have Natalie Grant. Drumroll. Natalie Grant.
Yeah.
The legend singer and really dear friend. She is a queen, and she was one of the first people to sit down and meet with us when we signed our record deal, moved to Nashville. She literally sat down and told us her whole story of failing, falling, trying again, and getting to where she is now. We love her husband, Bernie. He's a Canadian.
Sweet Bernie.
And we go to church with them. So also a very, very busy woman, and I cannot believe she's taken time out to meet with us. That's happening in February also. And drum roll, please. Juliana Zobrist. She is maybe new to some of you guys, but she is not new to the world, and she is not new to me. I have read her book. She is married to one of Chris's favorite baseball players. What's his name?
Ben.
Okay, I just know Juliana, so I'm a fan. But anyway, so she lives a pretty...
He's only like a World Series MVP.
No big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal.
No big deal.
So they have a tour life that's even busier than ours. They live in 2 places based on baseball season. She's a rock star. She has the most incredible outfits I've ever seen and one of the most beautiful hearts. And I just think she's beautiful. She's a poet. She's an author. And you guys, we're all going to grow together as she just takes us through life and all the ups and downs she's lived through. So
all the things, man.
All the dings. We want to get Matthew West to come hang out with us. So
that'd be fun.
Like, bug him, guys.
He's a friend.
We've written songs with him. He's a friend, but he's just, I was going to say, like,
he's
MIA.
busy.
He's MIA right now.
Well, it's January. He's probably, writing
Is he fasting too? He's out of energy.
Maybe.
Okay. Anyway, we got a really great season 2 of the podcast.
I really can't imagine Matthew being out of energy.
He is always on. Love that guy. So yeah, season 2 of the podcast is lit, guys.
Here we are.
Can we put symbols on the screen when I say these things?
Yeah.
You're the producer.
I'll work on that.
Chris does everything.
I'm the producer. I'm not like the special effects guy.
But you can do it.
That's not true. I do all of it, actually.
He just finished the laundry, and now he is going to be editing the podcast.
Don't tell people that.
Why?
I'm kidding.
I'm so proud that you do that. Okay, without further ado, here is our Q&A podcast, kicking off season 2.
Question number 1.
Okay, question number 1, guys. Anita wants to know, where have we traveled and what's our favorite memory from traveling to that place?
Oh, man. Okay, well, we'd have to separate it into before being married and after being married. Because my favorite travel story before we were married is I got to go with my dad to Italy when I was...
La-di-da.
I don't even know how old I was. Anyways, we went to a Formula One race, and my dad and I grew up being a massive Ferrari fan, and we got to go to the one of the races that was in Italy at the time. Got to see Michael Schumacher win the race.
That's hardcore.
Ferrari went 1-2 on home soil, and the place went berserk.
And everyone's like, what is Formula One? Just kidding. I'm sure some people know.
Okay.
It's racing very fast cars. And Chris called me from the race.
There's a race in Austin.
Okay.
Our
friends in Austin know
the
what
U.S. is getting behind it now.
Chris called me from the racetrack. He was like, babe, this is incredible. And it just sounded like... I was like, I can't hear you. I love you. I miss you. Buy me a shirt.
Yeah.
And you did.
And I did.
What is your favorite travel memory with me?
With you? Well, all of them, obviously.
Well, is there a favorite?
I mean...
They're not all equal, let's be honest. Some have been better than others.
Having dinner on the beach in Mexico was pretty amazing.
That sounds good right now. My mom's in Mexico and she's texting me pictures. This is me right now. This is me right now. And I'm like, happy face. But really in real life, I'm like, I want to be where you are.
Yeah, we haven't done a lot of like real vacations since we've been touring a lot because we just kind of tie it in.
Our life is a road trip.
Music has literally taken us around the world. Philippines, Africa.
Every state except Alaska and Hawaii. Yeah. All across Canada last year. Yeah,
Denmark. You know what?
Denmark.
That might be my favorite.
Amazing food, amazing people.
Denmark, and then tying in 3 days in Sweden, like.
Okay, Anita, we'll have a separate podcast just for your question. Also, John and I'm not sure. Pia, I think that's the best name. I hope I'm saying it right. Babe, they are fellow Vikings fans, so they share
still my heart.
Your tough year. I'm trying to pretend like I'm an announcer and I know what I'm talking about.
Tough year, tough life. Every year is tough.
Okay. But they also want to know when we're releasing new music, which, yay, we can tell you is super soon. April, hopefully.
Very soon, yes. And I've been a Vikings fan since as long as I can remember. And, you know, I think I shouldn't say anything. It was...
Just leave it at that.
It was going to be such a good year.
Just leave it at that. Otherwise, you're going to be depressed for this whole episode. And I don't want, like, sad Chris. I want happy
I'm
Chris.
Still happy.
Okay, good. But yeah, guys, we're releasing new music this spring. It has been recorded. It has been mixed. And we are just putting the plans together on how to get it to you ASAP. We cannot wait this spring. So it's coming your way. Carrie also asked that question, and a whole bunch of people asked us when new music is coming. Serena wants to know musical influences. So I'll start.
Sure.
I mentioned this on our very first podcast episode in a lot more detail. So if you haven't listened to our very first podcast episode, go subscribe and go check it out, because I talk about my mom doing aerobics to Amy Grant records, and it's a visual I will never forget. And so Amy Grant has been a major influence for me. Sheryl Crow was one of my dad's favorites, so I listened to a lot of Sheryl Crow. But to be completely honest, Alicia Keys was my girl. I dyed my hair black. I chopped it short. I play piano, so I just wanted to be Alicia Keys. So she was an influence that maybe went a little too far. I like really wanted to be her until I realized
such good songs. Man.
They're better than the ones that I feel like I've written. That was the problem. I was like, could I just be you?
She did like an amazing cover of that Prince song too. What was it called again?
Yeah, If I Don't Have You.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Dang.
I hope.
So good.
So anyway, those are some of my influences. Chris, give me your top 3.
Oh, How Come You Don't Call Me? That's
okay, cool. Yeah, that's right.
That's a good one. My favorite band of all time is U2.
Second.
I always feel like that's such an obvious answer, but it's true. I mean, they're the reason that I picked up a bass and learned how to play.
Cool. Second favorite band?
Oh, wow. We're just like...
I want you to give me off the top of your head, like, top 3 favorite bands.
Oh, second favorite band. That's tough. The first is easy.
We covered that.
The second could be the Beatles. It could be the Stones. It could be Led Zeppelin. It could be the Police. It could be Radiohead.
That's cheating.
No, I mean, there's lots of room. There's lots of room for second place.
That's true. Okay, Serena. Thanks for that question. Kristen wants to know what our favorite song is that we've ever written. Oh man, that's challenging.
Well, this is probably, I mean, it wasn't a single, but I feel like the song Galaxies from our latest record, These Are the Days, is my favorite. I mean, there was just an energy in the room when we were writing that. It was one of the first ones that we wrote for that project.
Yeah.
And the lyrics is just like, I mean, Willie Nelson is also one of my favorite artists, and I felt like we just took one of his best songs and you know, the title of it and kind of twisted it just a little bit for the chorus. And
yeah,
so
we don't play it live, and we've only played it a handful of times. There is a video of Galaxies online if people want to check it out. We played an acoustic version of it. Yeah, because it's always been one of your faves. I think my favorite, honestly, I have not grown tired of playing The God I Know. I almost called it Hands Up, Worries Down, because that's what you guys all call it when you text us and stuff. But that song is just a blast. It's just a party to play that song, and it's amazing to see all of you guys light up because it's become your song. I got texts from you guys saying it's your ringtone, all these different things. And Brian actually asked us for one of our favorite testimonies from fans. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite testimonies was this sweet retired gentleman came to a VIP meet and greet and said that The God I Know is his jam. Like, it's his favorite song. He may have not said his jam, but he said, this is my favorite song. And the reason was because he felt like he went from being saved to being free with that song. He had been in church his whole life. He'd been a Christian, a follower of Christ his whole life. But in church, he was raised to just like fold his hands and sing the hymns and just not really move too much. And there's not a lot of, you don't feel very free when that's your posture. I really believe that our head and our heart connect in worship because we start to like act how we act out how we're feeling. And so if you go into church and you're like having a tough week, you probably start pretty somber and still. But as you recite the truths and promises of God, you get just lit up again and turned on to who he really is. And he is who he says he is. And then you're reminded of who you are. And that's basically what this fan was saying. He's like, I just got free when you told me to throw my hands up in worship and my worries down at his feet. I just surrendered and I gave in and I got free. And I just think that is like the ultimate testimony because that's why we wrote that song. We literally felt God tell us, and we always pray for like a bit of clarity on the purpose behind our records that we're making. It's not just for the fun of it, although it is really fun. It's also to really steward the gifts God's given us and do the best we can with what he's given us and these stories and testimonies. And like I talked about on Motivational Monday, you can't have a testimony without a test. And I feel like These Are the Days was a record full of tests on, are you really free even when you're touring with your kids? And do you worry more than you are rooted in me? If you're anxious, are you really anchored in me? And so all of these songs came from those places of going, okay, we're about to get tested hardcore as parents on the road. This is going to be nuts. So all of those songs just speak to that, us really fighting to be free and to live a free and inspiring life, I guess. Yeah. So anyway.
I just read a great, sorry, I know some answers are going to be longer than others, but I read something great from Levi Lusko this morning, and he was talking about the posture of worship and how in Psalms it talks about, you know, raising your arms and shouting and all these things that
I love that
seem to be associated with like super charismatic churches and that, well, that's their style. It's like, well, no, it actually, those acts, those movements actually release hormones in your body that help you kind of get into that zone. And
it's like when you go on a run or something.
Well, yeah, I mean,
totally.
You exercise and you feel better afterwards.
You do. It's very holistic. Like God made us so body, mind, and spirit. We're just it's all one. We're connected.
Right.
And you can't really, I don't know if you can be healthy and neglect your body health. You can't be healthy and neglect your mind. You can't be healthy and neglect your spirit. It's all connected. And you're right. So in worship, why wouldn't we respond with our body?
Right.
And I feel like in church too, Alex Seeley was speaking, and we have an amazing podcast episode with her that you guys should go back and check out. But she talked about that as well. She said people sometimes bug her that she talks really loud, that she's really exuberant. And someone said to her once, like, you don't have to talk so loud. Like, God hears you even if you don't say anything. And she's like, oh, I know. That's just me. I'm just loud. I'm Italian and I'm passionate. And that really like actually set me a bit free.
I love that. That was like, it kind of it let me off the hook a little bit for being who I am. Like,
we're a little different, right?
Well, it takes me a bit longer, unless like I'm on stage and I'm playing bass, then it's like I'm into it like right away. But if I'm just in the service and I'm in the congregation, then it takes me a little bit longer because that's my personality. But for you and for Alex, it's like you're walking into church with your hands up, and that's great.
Yeah. Oh, it's like at our wedding, there's a video of Chris and I, and we had worship. Obviously, our buddy John Buller led worship at our wedding, and I canned Chris my bouquet because I wanted both my hands free to worship. I felt so limited. I chose way too heavy of a bouquet of flowers. They were real and they were beautiful, but I was like, oh, forget this. Hand it to Chris, and I throw both my hands up, and you're just kind of like, you can just see in your eyes, you're excited, but you're nervous, and you're just like, I am not where you are, babe. And isn't that just...
Can you imagine if Megan had handed Harry her flowers
at the royal wedding?
Oh, man. Forget about it. The internet would have exploded.
Maybe one day we'll post a clip of our wedding, and I'll post a clip of that moment, which Chris also edited our video.
I did. I do it all.
Oh my goodness. So anyway, yeah, we do. We come to worship as we are, and that's how God wants us to come. So our personality, He made us that way. So why would we not be who we are? At the same time, all of us are walking toward or away from God, and Holy Spirit speaking to each of us, and we choose to respond or not. So yeah. Anyways, maybe we'll do a separate podcast on worship, because a lot of your questions,
that's a good one,
were in regards to that. We'll pivot over to one of those.
We have a little bit of knowledge in that area.
We've led worship for a little while, and there's a question here. I'm going to find it. Somebody asked us, right here. Faith says, has worship helped you get through hard times? And I mean, I think we just sort of covered that a bit.
Oh man.
But absolutely. I mean, worship is our response to the Father, and it doesn't always mean that it's two hands in the air. I mean, when we found out that your mom had cancer, oh my goodness, like, your response to him was like, I'm sure a lot different than that. Like, probably what? Like, are you serious? Probably words we can't say right now.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of time on my knees. Yeah.
So, and I think too, worship isn't just responding with your vocal cords. It's responding, like we said, body, mind, and spirit. Sometimes when I'm at home and I'm overwhelmed for whatever reason, whether it be like potty training weekend and not knowing if I'm doing it right, or something even more intense, I think that when I don't have the words to say, that's when I really appreciate having worship music that say the things that I don't know how to say. And I just turn on worship. So it absolutely helps us through hard times, but I don't always have the words to say in those hard times. Sometimes the music says it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, I mean, you always used to kind of make fun of me that I would be humming like bass lines all the time. Like,
yeah, you are.
But for me, I mean, a song that has resonated with me, especially I'm thinking of like, it's a bit of a specific thing, but like when we cross the border and if we've ever been stopped for questions, I just have Lord, I Need You kind of on repeat in my head.
That's good.
Fellow Canadian, Matt Maher, of course. But that song is just like, it's so powerful, and it's so, it digs to the heart of the problem that I'm in, and just kind of like lifts it out.
Yeah,
I don't know a better way to describe it.
No, that's a really good way to say it. Eugene actually asked for a favorite Bible verse, but we just gave you a favorite song, your favorite song. And I think that's the beautiful thing of songs that are scripture-based, which Matt Maher does a lot of those, is you're kind of singing your scripture. It sticks in your head. I mean, that's why kids' songs are so sticky.
That's why Delirious songs were so good. I mean, they would literally just take a psalm and make it into a song.
Yeah.
And...
Yeah,
so you're literally... I mean, it's all... rock and roll, but you're singing the Bible. This question is from Amy. What would you say to your younger self?
Oh, that's good. I'd probably tell myself to stop saying sorry so much and kind of shaming myself as much as I do, and just get out there and get after it. I have an internal dialogue with myself that's usually... I don't know. I'm hard on myself. And even on my most like confident days with my red lipstick and my leopard dress, I just tend to go, oh, Jode, like you could have done better at that. Or, man, that wasn't the right response to Milo. Or, when Chris asked you that, you kind of got snappy. And it's good to self-reflect, but for me, self-reflecting can go to shaming myself pretty quick. And so I'm really trying to work on that, because that's just, I thought that was the Lord kind of helping me have a repentant heart, or, like, search me, God. But it's not. Like, shaming yourself is not Holy Spirit. That's not God. I think that he loves to bring things to the surface that, bring him back around a few times to go, hey, let's think about this. Let's talk about this. But his tone with us and his voice toward us is nothing but love. He has so much love for us, and it doesn't come across in a shaming tone. So to anybody out there that like faces that, just know you're not alone. And I'm working on that this year a lot. So I think I would just, say, don't take yourself so seriously, Jode. Like, just let yourself off the hook and laugh. Like, just laugh when you're trying so hard at something and it doesn't work. Just laugh it off and just learn to just not take yourself too seriously. I posted a verse a couple days ago, and I'm going to blank on the exact scripture, but it basically says, don't take yourself too seriously. Take God seriously. Take him at his word. He means every single word he says to us, and don't take yourself so seriously. So that's what I'd say.
I remember in interviews that if they're interviewing Bono and Edge, and they would, from U2, and they would said, we take what we do in the band very seriously, but we don't take ourselves very seriously. Yeah.
You got to be able to laugh. I feel like if that's not a New Year's resolution for you, which I know that sounds hilarious.
That is a bit of a... It seems like a bit of a conundrum in this space. I mean, I feel like a lot of artists that I like have a pretty good sense of humor, but it seems like in the church that laughter is sometimes suppressed, and I don't know why that is.
It's true. Like, the joy of the Lord is our strength, and it's okay to express that joy.
I read an article about the jokes that Jesus told, and it was like,
really?
This is amazing.
You got to post that. We got to post that on the story. That would be awesome. I think, honestly, that can lead us into another really important question. So Sharon asked us, how do you navigate life with so much evil in the world? She reflected in a few paragraphs on how her kids are grown up, but she gets nervous about them having kids and being a grandma and having to just navigate life with little ones when life is so dark and depressing sometimes. Honestly, I'm not meaning to have a trite answer, but there's always going to be hardship. Like, we're never going to live a day where we don't feel that, right? We're in a fallen world, and there's lots of evil, and we act that way sometimes too. But I do feel like being able to have joy, even in the midst of sorrow, is a real sign of our anchoredness, being anchored. If we aren't anchored, I think that's when we just look to ourselves, and you're never gonna have enough strength for yourself.
Right.
Like, we have to look to the Lord for that. And honestly, I feel like doing something that you love doing, that you're really passionate about, that gives you a reason to wake up in the morning and feel like I'm on the team. Yeah. Like, God made a space for me on his team. Mm-hmm. I'm in the game. I'm not on the sidelines. God never asked us to be on the sidelines. Like, he made us the way we're made to get in the game just as we are. And
put me in, coach.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're somebody that's struggling with focusing way more on the evil and the down and the dark instead of the light and the bright and the joy, maybe you're on the sidelines a little bit too much. I've been there. Something can take you out in life, because that happens. We've had so many of those things. I'm not making light of that. But there comes a time where you've sat in that place for a while, and like with your mom, we canceled a year's worth of shows, and we had to really live in the pain and the sorrow and talk to the Lord about it and just let ourselves feel that. But then there comes that time where God goes, okay, I want you to share that story, and it's time to, get out in the world again. And when you have something that you're passionate about doing, I feel like that really helps you let the light in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And interesting in light of the movie that we saw last night, Glass. But that can be for another podcast. But I was just thinking, there's a battle for our minds.
Yeah.
That is always happening. And
it's true.
It's something that doesn't get, it does get talked about a lot, but I think people just think of it as almost like psychobabble, but
no, you're right. It's
there's
real.
A lot to what are you putting in, what are you allowing into your mind space, what are you watching, what are you listening to, what are you reading? And I mean, there are a lot of negative there's a lot of negative information out there, but
it's literally taking that verse, think on things that are lovely and good and pure. And you know what?
And if you can't read the news, or if you can't watch the news and read stories on the internet and think the world is going to hell in a handbasket, then maybe it's just time to stop watching the news for a while. Just turn it off. Just tune out. I'm not saying like turn your brain off, but like maybe it's time to start listening to something else for a while.
I think that this actually legitimately should be its own podcast on how to live a life that's full, a full life that we're called to in the midst of an evil, tough world. Because, and I'm really glad you asked this, Sharon, because it means you're processing it. It means you're thinking about it.
Right.
Even if maybe you didn't realize you were, you are. And I think you're right, babe. Like, for each of us, you can't give a religious, quote unquote, religious answer, because when God says think on things that are lovely and pure and beautiful, that is different for all of us. What we can handle is different for all of us. Our threshold, our capacity for handling the news is different. Like what you can handle is so different than me. Even shows we watch. There's shows we used to watch on Netflix years ago. I could never handle it right now in this season of parenthood and having my little babies and their hearts, and just my heart is soft toward things it never used to be soft towards. So just take a minute. I think that would be my best answer. Like what you said, I'm stealing your answer, babe. Just take a second.
That's what happens.
Take a second and really stop and think for yourself. What is it on a daily basis that takes me out? That takes me down a rabbit hole of darkness instead of light? And maybe it is really time to cut that out for the new year. Maybe you give that show up. Even if it's really well made and looks incredible and it's winning all the awards, like that can make us think it's worthy of our viewing, but that's not true. So anyway, think on things that are lovely, and the things that are taking you out, take them out. Just take them out of your life. I said to somebody in an email the other day, they're like, how are you doing? And I said, I just read John 10:10 that says, live a full life. God has asked us to live life to the full, live it abundantly. I said, so we're living life to the full even when it's full of challenges. And it hit me. I was like, right. That's it. Life is always full of challenges, but we are still called to live it to the full. And oh man, Sharon, we will, thanks to your question, we'll dedicate an episode to this coming up. Caroline wants to know how we met, babe.
Oh man. Well, we met officially on stage.
We did. I think God had something in mind. What do you think?
I think so. So
you were behind me on the stage. Was I wearing good jeans? Like, was it like my voice?
I had the best spot.
Was
in
it
the
my
house.
butt? What was Okay. Maybe we should go down this road for a second.
Well, yeah, okay. I mean,
the road of talking about my butt. That is not what I meant.
That's another podcast.
That's just okay. Oh my.
So we were, there was this thing in Winnipeg where we grew up. Winnipeg is, Winnipeg is a city. It's a real city in the middle of nowhere.
800,000 people. It's a pretty incredible place.
It is the geographical middle of North America. So it's the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Fargo, go north.
And our friend John Buller had an idea to start basically a worship collective. And every month, his band would sing in one of the great theaters in Winnipeg. And you were part of that.
Yeah, and that's how we met. I was at his band's audition.
And it got, the season of that band started to come to an end for John, so he decided, I need to hire a new band. I was in that new band.
And he asked me what I thought, and I was like...
You came to the very first...
I was
you
like,
came to
they're
our
really
audition.
cute. They sound like Oasis. Hire them. Hire them. Hire them now.
And John, I think, saw that he could be like... He could be his true Van Halen self with us because we just brought out the rock.
We did.
And
it was a blast.
And so we spent 2 years basically
touring in a minivan
across Canada.
You really get to know someone in a minivan if you don't know this already.
Our upcoming date in Kansas, that was one of our first American gigs together. We've played in Hillsborough before.
Is it on Valentine's Day?
No.
Okay. Well, we will do a Valentine's Day podcast dedicated to all of these stories and many more. Yeah. But you won me over. You were such a gentleman, and you were fun. You played a bass guitar, and you had okay hair. Your hair is even better now. Actually, that was a question. What do you use in your hair? It was a joke. Harold actually started. Harold, where's your question here? You started with a joke. You're like, Chris, tell me all about your hair products. So tell everyone about your hair products.
Okay. I did not prepare very well for this question. I could have had them in front of me.
Well, you use a gunky, sticky thing.
I use a couple of different pastes, and then hairspray.
What's the really expensive hairspray that's so good?
The Oribe.
Oribe?
Maybe.
I'm a little embarrassed, but I know Natalie Grant uses this too.
Oribe. Yeah, it's
guys. I have.
You could wake up and spray it in your hair and you'll be fine.
Well, that's the joke. He's always like, I haven't done my hair yet. I'm like, it hasn't moved.
It did itself.
If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, I did not do my hair today. That's why I own red lipstick. It covers a multitude of sins. So, okay. So besides the hair products, Harold actually wanted to know how we live a balanced life amidst touring and raising kids on and off the road with the Lord.
Besides balancing my hair?
Besides balancing your hair, Chris, how do you balance everything else? Small question.
Oh, man. Well, I think part of my Enneagram makeup, which is, again, another podcast in itself, I'm a peacemaker, but I also like things to be kind of in order. So if I become... Speak
about this weekend. Walk us through your process.
Okay, so
we leave on Friday.
This weekend, which this will air after this weekend, but we're going to a church.
Yeah, we're spending a
And we're
full
just
weekend.
going as a family. We're not bringing any crew along. And sometimes I love our crew. I love people that we work with, but sometimes it's fun just to go as a family.
And actually someone asked that question, do you bring crew or not? So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and so sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. Just depends on the show. And this weekend, I'm kind of taking care of, I'm driving us, I'm packing the merch.
Yep.
I'm making sure the
White Neptune is ready to go.
Tires are full, and that everyone has a place to sleep properly on the bus.
Yeah, you're making sure you know all your parts for the songs we're leading.
So today is podcast day. Tomorrow will be weekend prep day.
Yeah.
Counting merch and making sure all my gear is ready to go.
Yeah.
And that's...
Basically, in a nutshell, taking care of us.
Well, taking care of the logistical us.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And what makes you feel balanced is knowing you've done that prep. It's funny, I think people see a married couple on stage and think, oh, it's always date night. I used to think that too. And it's just not.
And honestly, once we get onto stage, it is date night because being on stage is...
what we love to do.
Is the easiest part.
It is. It's the reward. It really is the reward for everything else that takes a lot of hard work. Once you're on stage, You better know your songs.
If I don't know the songs, then it's a different story. Then it's panic.
As if that ever happens to you. You are Mr. Prepared.
But that's part of the preparation, is
Absolutely.
learning. And you know, this is... Okay, I'm going to get up on the box for a second, but if you come to a church rehearsal and you don't know your songs, that's not what the rehearsal is for.
It's so true.
You need to know your songs going in.
And you're actually segueing into a lot of other questions. We got asked a ton about that. Just how we write music, how we approach leading worship at a church, and what inspires us, all those things. Why we write music. The why is really important to know in life. Why you do what you do.
That's the $64,000
You need to know the answer to that, for real. It gives you already have purpose, but even just being able to name that why you do what you do will give you so much more confidence in your calling. Because I didn't know the why for a while. I sang in clubs. I led worship. I sang jingles. I sold couches and bank jingles. It was crazy. Anywhere someone asked me to sing, I would do it because I was trying to figure out the why. And here's the thing, just because you have a good voice doesn't make you called to lead worship. Just because you can sit in your room and write a little ditty on your guitar doesn't mean you're meant to sell 1 million records. You really need to answer the why. Why did God make you to do this, and why do you do it? Why do you love doing it? Why are you spending your energy on this? And where do you want it to go? If you can answer those questions, it'll give purpose to the preparation. So exactly like Chris, he knows the why is that Love in the Outcome feels called to share God's love and remind people that they're 100% loved by him. And our way of showing that is through music. And our calling is to inspire people through our music to remind themselves how loved they are. So because of that, you prepare, you pack the bus, you da-da-da-da-da.
And I said being on stage is the easiest part, but that doesn't mean that's the only part that I love. I kind of love, if I have time, I love being in the trailer. I love getting things ready. And that's just, I've learned that's just kind of who I am. And I learned that on the road with John because we would have to set up and tear down every night. It's not like we had crew to be like, oh, we're going to go eat pizza in the back. It's like...
So pay attention to what you love. That'll help point to the why you do what you do. And that'll make you into a really great version of yourself when you put it out into the world. I tried to do music by myself. Chris tried to do it, just his band. When we came together, we realized that we were gifted completely differently and that our passions were a little bit different. So within the band of Love in the Outcome, we stayed balanced by not really doing what the other does well. You know, I'm not going to go pretend I've got it all figured out when it comes to changing the oil on White Neptune.
I thought you were going to say changing the strings, but...
That too.
Changing oil.
Do you not know how to change your bass strings, babe?
Well, and a quick, real world example. Last weekend, we played one of our favorite places at Bayside in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And we had never played with that team before.
Yeah.
They sent us the songs, and we got off the plane at 1:30. We walked into the building at 2:30, and we were playing the service by 4:30.
If you're not prepared at that point,
know your stuff.
No one's asking you to come back if you don't.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and so we organize our week around our priorities, Harold. To stay balanced means Chris and I having a powwow on Monday. Monday is usually our Sabbath, actually. So if we play all weekend, we refuel on a Monday. We don't drive anywhere. We don't get on our phones. We are present to each other and to our kids. And I might sneak off and get a manicure during nap time for the boys. The boys, including Chris. And I also get groceries that day. It sounds really bizarre, but for me, I get life from that. It makes me feel like I'm living a balanced life and a balanced week when our kids are eating balanced meals. So I do that. So we take a Sabbath on Monday and we kind of get our heads in the game for what the week looks like. So that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and into our gigs on the weekend have been thought through. There's not something that's been missed. This is the most boring answer. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. You know, this doesn't just happen, right? Especially with kids involved. Life doesn't just happen.
Well,
We're intentional about it.
They call it preparation because it's not fireworks.
Yeah, it's not the glittery part of our life. I'm usually in sweatpants, not a glitter jacket. You know, it's
you gave me a great idea, though. I think we should do a podcast from a nail salon because you seem to have the deepest conversations with...
When I'm getting my nails done?
Tell the story about the one in the airport where you didn't even finish your nails.
Yeah, I went to get a pedicure because Chris was like, babe, I've got the kids. You've got 2 hours until our flight. You just go. I got this. When your husband says that to you, wives, you listen, you just go. So I ran to the closest nail salon, and 2 hours later, Chris came back to be like, babe, it's time for the flight, because I would miss every flight if it wasn't for Chris. And he looks and he's like, your nails aren't polished. So I think it's kind of cool, though, because that lady felt free to share with me what was going on in her life, and it was not all roses. It was a tough moment in time for her. It was a tough season of life for her. And she found herself in a nail salon doing nails, doing my nails. And she just got real open and honest with me over nails and
maybe
vulnerable.
It's the fumes, you know, it just kind of loosens everything up, and you're just like, can I talk to you for a second?
And it's in those moments you can either be really in your ego, yourself, your, I guess in the flesh, or you can be in the spirit. And I had a second of being very flesh and being like, I never get my nails done. You are not doing the job. I'm paying you way too much to do in an airport. It's way too expensive. But I could have responded like that, but I took a second to check myself, and Holy Spirit was like, hey, this is about more than your nails. And it was just a chance for me to maybe be an encouragement and be Jesus love. Man, if you're going to call yourself love in the outcome, you better try and be loving, right? And it's a good reminder. So I paid her in full. Well, you did, because it was your treat for me. And it was like, whatever, I'll get my nails done another time. Anyways, you're right. That is just a funny moment. Yep. So, but that was another question. So we kind of covered balance. How do you get the ball rolling? Josh asked us that. I think we just kind of answered that too in our preparation during the week.
How do we get the ball rolling?
Well, he's a musician. Josh is a musician.
Oh, I see.
He feels like he's ready to get out there, but he doesn't know how to start. You know, and honestly, starting is the hardest thing, isn't it? Whether you're running a marathon, whether you're making cookies, whether you're changing your bass strings, whatever it is, some things that you know you need to do and you're called to do, it does not mean it's easy to start.
Well, and we are in a position, we're in a point in our career where we can make choices a little bit more than we used to. But when, you're right, when we were starting and it was me and you going across Canada in the Jetta, there weren't a lot of no's.
We didn't know what we were doing.
Do you want to play in a clothing store? Yes. Do you want to play in a coffee shop? Yes. Do you want to play on the side of the road? Yes. Because if you don't play, people will not hear you.
It's true.
And I realize this is the age of YouTube and the internet, so
there's a few more options.
There are a few more options, but at the same time,
I'm going to pull us back to knowing your why. So Josh, I would say that if you know why you are doing what you're doing, why you're pursuing what you're pursuing, because I don't know, within being a musician, I get a lot of, DMs about that. I'm a musician, I don't know where to start. You have to know your calling within I'm a musician. You have to know the why you're doing it. If the why is I want to be a worship leader and that's what I want to do with my life, or I've written this song, I think I'm a great songwriter, I just want to get my songs out there, I don't even need to perform them, I just want to write songs. That's a different why. So know why you do what you do and then work backwards. So Josh, if you want to record a record, I would say the first thing to do is get your iPhone out, get GarageBand, press record on that GarageBand and start recording all your ideas. Share them with friends. Share them with people that are farther ahead than you are. Surround yourself with people that are better than you are, so you can get better. You can't get better if you're surrounding yourself with people that aren't good at it. If you don't have any friends that are musicians, listen to podcasts. Research your favorite musicians, how their story went, how they started. Go figure out what your city has to offer. Where can you play live shows? Where can you get grant funding? Maybe there's programs set up to help you record.
This is in Canada.
But maybe there are, and maybe there's an open mic night at your Starbucks. Maybe you can go sign up for that. By signing up, you have just turned your dream into a goal. You've just gone from Josh, the musician that doesn't know how to start, to Josh, the musician on a mission with a goal. Nice. Every dream is just we all have dreams and we talk about them like that. But once you've turned, when I wake up, if I've had an awesome dream, I'm like, babe, I had this dream. That's not a goal. That's just some fluffy ideas. If that's really what you want to do, Josh, turn it into a goal. Go sign up for that open mic, and you just forced yourself to get real about this. Mm-hmm. I had literally 20 questions from different people here, and I love it. I'm just going to name you guys off here. From David, turning your calling into reality. Rich and Marcel saying, do you like playing small venues or big venues? Malia saying, how did you make ends meet in the Jetta? Josh, how to get the ball rolling? Amy, how did you get started? So many of you guys want to know how to do this. Figure out what your motivation is. Why do you want to do it? What's your calling within it? And then start turning your dreams into goals and write them down. And make sure when you look at your calendar that you're not just spending your time watching Netflix and doing things that feel easy and good. It's going to feel challenging. It's going to mean you run out of gas and you don't know if you have money to get to the next show. It's going to mean you don't know where to record your music. It's so tough, but start with what's in your hand. So in scripture, there's an amazing verse where Moses is being called up to hold more responsibility than he held before. And he had a staff in his hand and he said, like, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fill these shoes. And God was like, use what's in your hand to use. And he had a staff in his hand. And that's what I'm asking you guys. What is in your hand to use? That is the answer to your question. That's how you get started.
Reach it.
Use GarageBand, use Instagram, use Facebook, record yourself, turn the phone on yourself, and just start getting better at what it is you are. Babe, what's your favorite part about touring with the kids? I don't even know if I've asked you this before.
Well, my favorite part about touring with the kids is touring with the kids. I mean, that's a funny answer, but I think when
it's perfect.
When I finally wrapped my head around becoming a dad, and you know, the reason that I wanted to become a dad was because you sort of said, I want to see what happens when you and I make yeah. And then Milo came, and then Ziggy came, and they're my second and third favorite people on the planet. So,
Morgan, how's that for a good answer?
Yeah,
my goodness,
they're our little roadies. I mean,
Emily wanted to know how we named Milo and Ziggy, so I'm going to ask you because you actually thought of both of their names.
I guess I kind of did. I think Ziggy was a little more collaborative, but Milo happened. It wasn't out of thin air, but I remember we were talking about our favorite comic strips. My dad and our producer Colin were on our back deck, and that conversation came up, and all of a sudden I thought of my
No, that's that. We're okay.
Oh, okay.
My eucalyptus oil just stopped diffusing in the kitchen. Continue.
All right. And so my favorite comic strip when I was growing up was called Bloom County. And
there was a little Milo, right?
There was a little Milo in Bloom County.
With a pet.
He was the lead character.
And
with a pet penguin.
And he was like little blonde. I mean, he is the cutest.
I realized later when I got a little bit older that it was like a serious like political cartoon, but you know, all the characters looked really funny and cute. And,
well, you pretty much were just like, I didn't know that history. I didn't read comics or anything. But around this fire, I think I was 6 months pregnant. And the funny thing with us is we didn't think we were having boys. We thought we were having girls because we just have amazing nieces. So in our heads, we were like, had maybe a few girl names like swimming around.
Yeah, we didn't have any boy names that were like, oh, that's it.
Nothing.
And then Milo kind of came out.
Yeah, you were literally like, what about Milo? And all of a sudden, I literally, like, my heart was just like, I don't even know a Milo, and I want to know a Milo. Like, I want to know our Milo. It was kind of a done deal. We didn't tell anyone because Canadians, we're very private and proper. We don't tell people these things. So everyone would be like, what's the name? We're like, we're not telling you. And people thought it was really strange, but we didn't even tell our parents. It was very private.
Their guesses were like nowhere near.
No, we kind of ended up, isn't it funny? We headed down like a Scandinavian, German, well, we both have German heritage, but that was sort of where our brains go to what we like in the sound of a name, the meaning of a name. Milo means merciful warrior, which I thought spoke to this like beautiful strength. It's almost like strength that's reserved for moments when you need it, but you're not always living bombastic. And that's how I think of you. And Milo's so much like you. So that was how we named Milo. And Wolf, Milo Wolf, which Hannah Wolf asked the next question. So what's up? Good name.
Nice.
Our very first band was Jodi King and the Lone Wolf. And as Canadians, there's many wolves in the cold, and it was just a cool name. So Milo Wolf, Ziggy Bernard, Ziggy Bear, named after my dad. And so that was a little more straightforward. So that's where the boys' names come from.
Ziggy was just a rock and roll name. I mean,
yeah,
take your pick. Ziggy Stardust, Ziggy Marley.
But the funny thing is we had bought a poster. It was the album cover of your favorite Bowie record.
Oh, yeah.
And we were going to hang it up in Milo's room. And for some reason, it just didn't fit. We went to hang it up and we're like, meh. We saved it. We put that poster in storage. And then when I was pregnant with Ziggy, I got it up and I was decorating Ziggy's new room and I put it on the wall. And you had said the name Ziggy to me and I looked on the poster and it said Ziggy Stardust. And I was like, I'm going to look up what it means. And I just fell in love with that name and I felt like God really confirmed it.
And now they are their names. I mean, there's no real way to
Ziggy is
qualify that. It's just Milo is Milo and Ziggy is a Ziggy.
And Milo and Ziggy, it's like the adventures of Milo and Ziggy on the road. Like we have to write that book. It's just meant to be. So, will we keep touring with the kids? Laura asks. You know what, Laura? You know that thing where when you're parenting, you're kind of like, you're very present. I feel like parenting is the best lesson on being present. You want to be a step ahead of your kids when it comes to what they're watching on YouTube, what they're eating, all that stuff. But we're not really there yet. Like Milo's turning 3. We're planning a fire truck birthday party and he watches...
Don't tell him.
Yeah. Guys, don't blow the surprise. And he watches Blippi on TV. So we're kind of not yet in that really intense time where I really do want to be a step ahead of them. Right now, I just wake up 5 minutes earlier so their toast is ready and the house, I have my candle lit. And that's about as ahead of the game as I get.
We're just being a step ahead of peeing on the potty.
Right, exactly. But we're just very present to the moments we're going through right now. You're right. It's potty training, all that. So I don't know, Laura. I don't know how it's going to work when they're school aged. We've talked about this before. Everyone's like, you should homeschool, you should this, you should that. Neither of us feel very drawn to homeschooling because we're not great teachers. And I just feel like it's overwhelming at this moment. But ask me in 2 years when Milo's school aged. And if God wants us to homeschool, I know he's going to change our hearts and shift our focus and give us capacity to do that. But at this current moment, I don't know.
I don't really see it until he's old enough to be out of the school he's in because all the teachers there are so amazing.
Well, and you know what? The cool thing about doing life in Nashville is that we're not the only ones in this situation. So a lot of people make room for your kid in the way that they can be 50% at school and 50% school on the road. So it's probably going to be some combination of that. But I am not at this current moment exactly sure what that means. I'm praying we're thinking about it, but Laura, I don't know. And so maybe we'll wrap it up with this. Who watches Milo and Ziggy during shows? Emily wants to know. Okay, so Emily.
I mean, for me, this goes back to the balance question.
Yes.
And I
100%.
thought I was a bit anxious about it last year when we started, getting into the year and getting on the road a bit more. And you were pretty resolved to do, at least during the day, yourself with the boys.
Yeah, you know what it was? Like you said, what's your favorite part of touring with the boys is touring with the boys. We really both share that, and it must mean that God has really equipped us and called us to this life. I say that from stage all of the time. When God calls you, he equips you. Sometimes it doesn't mean that you have nannies galore, that in that way you're not equipped, but you're equipped in that your heart wants to do what you're doing and you feel like you can. And so I really, like you said, I was just like, I have loved Sarah, if you're listening to our podcast, was our most incredible nanny right when Milo was born, and I was nursing a lot. My mom has come along. There's been little seasons in those beginning days of touring with Danny, Goki, and Mandisa, and I was like literally nursing Ziggy around the clock. That boy can eat. And I had to get on stage, and I didn't know. I was like nursing and then passing him off to Sarah or my mom. So we've tried doing it that way, but the truth of it is, as soon as they got to a point where I could kind of handle it and hold them both during the day, I wanted to be the one holding them both during the day. I wanted to be mom until I couldn't be with them, until I had to get on stage. It sounds nutty, and it is. Like, it's total chaos some days, but it's chaos with them and me not missing out and getting the update on how they did during the day. So this is in a nutshell for all you musicians out there, and I know there's lots of you, that you want to bring your kids to work with you like we do. We put it on our rider, thanks to Elizabeth Chan for the idea. We advance childcare. yes, this is what we do. On our rider, when you book Love and the Outcome, you get a list of demands. Just kidding. You get a list of like requests from us, things that make us do life on the road to the best that we can do it. So almond butter and rice cakes and someone to run sound and someone to watch our kids. Most of the time, that's a sweet person that works in the nursery at the church we're playing. Mm-hmm. They volunteer to be with our kids, and we equip them with best practices, what we do as parents, and they hang out with our boys as soon as we go on stage, and they usually have the best time. To all of you listening who have watched our kids at a show, you are our heroes. You have gotten us through fevers. You've gotten us through like so many milestone moments. And here's the thing, guys. None of us are alone in this life. When God calls you, He equips you with people to help you on the journey. And we have had so many moments in life where I have literally been crying right up until I go on stage. The very first fever Milo got, we were in a church in California. We were on tour, and this sweet woman who had been a nurse went, Jodi, I am with him. I've got this. You go get on stage. I'm going to teach you how to bring the fever down. I'm going to be with your boy. I'm going to love him like he's mine. And it just makes me even cry thinking about it. We've had angels just be with us to help us do what we do. You guys have done that for us when it came to our break-in at Christmas, sending us resources and prayers. We are in this together. We couldn't do this without you. We really hope that you feel the love from us in answering your questions to go, we are not experts. We actually didn't even know if we wanted to do this Q&A because we were just so concerned that we would come across like know-it-alls. We don't know it all, but we know the one who knows it all, and we live very, very dependent on Him for the answers to everyday life. We trust our gut, and we go for it. So we love you guys so much. Thanks for your questions. As we sign off, babe, Matthew wants to know, when you sneeze, is it like one sneeze or like three?
Oh, it's usually just one for me.
Okay. For me, it's usually a couple in a row. You guys are awesome. We love y'all so much. If you haven't already, rate, review, and subscribe. And we have a Valentine's Day episode coming up where we will tell you how we keep marriage hot. And oh my, I don't know what this was. But we'll give you all the tips to staying in love, because we still are.
Love you.
Love you.